What happened in Taekook's live was one of those moments that will stay with you forever. Not only from seeing them together, but also from how certain interactions unfolded. It all started with a casual conversation, filled with jokes and loose comments, but there came a point where the attention was completely focused on Taehyung, especially his physique. It was Namjoon who broke the ice by saying that Taehyung had been looking stronger lately, and that led to a rather interesting reaction from Jungkook. Every time they talked about Taehyung's body, Jungkook couldn't help certain expressions. He surreptitiously bit his lip and looked at him out of the corner of his eye, as if he were completely immersed in the topic without saying anything directly. Those who know him well know that Jungkook is very expressive with his body. When something bothers him, he likes it, or makes him nervous, he shows it without needing to say anything. In this case, those gestures were repeated several times throughout the broadcast. It wasn't something staged or overacted, it was simply him reacting to what was happening, especially when the conversation revolved around Taehyung. And it wasn't just that. Jungkook, in addition to biting his lips, began touching his arms, the back of his neck, and moving in a very peculiar way, which he usually does when he's feeling a little shy. It's not something new for him, we've seen him act this way in other situations where Taehyung is involved, and it's a pattern that repeats itself naturally. It's simply part of his way of being when he's in front of someone he feels very close to, or has deeper feelings for. The interesting thing is that Taehyung also responded with a certain shyness. He smiled, nodded, and listened calmly, but what really stood out was when he confessed that he worked out with Jungkook. He said they'd been working out together, and that was important because up until that point, they hadn't said it openly. Jimin had already mentioned it before, but Jungkook's reaction when he heard Jimin say it before them was pretty clear. He made a face like, "Why did you say that?" Not entirely annoyed, but with that expression that indicates something didn't go as expected. And it makes sense, Jungkook and Taehyung are very careful about what they share about themselves, they're reserved, even among members of the group. When they choose to share something, it's usually because they've talked about it beforehand, because it's their own thing. So when Jimin blurted it out first, it broke that plan a bit, but it was still noticeable that it wasn't well received by Jungkook. Then, in this live, having them confirm that they trained together was a way for them to regain control over what they wanted to share. The good thing about this is that although they're very discreet about their personal lives, they occasionally reveal these details that speak volumes. And that's appreciated, because it's not easy to be public figures and at the same time manage such a private relationship without losing its authenticity. Another detail that didn't go unnoticed is that despite being with other members, their interaction continued to flow naturally. They didn't seek prominence or stray from the group, but their dynamic stood out above the rest. It's that energy they have when they're together, which needs no explanation, it's simply the way they interact, as if they were in their own space, even when there were cameras or people around. For a long time, several people have shared the idea that Jungkook had a very close relationship with Jimin, even claiming that their relationship was something real. These opinions were based mainly on the fact that Jungkook and Taehyung didn't appear together in front of the cameras that often. However, a recent statement made by Taehyung in this live clarified a different reality and surprised many, revealing a much stronger personal connection than some had considered. While talking about their training routines, the topic of how long they had been practicing together came up. And it was there that Taehyung mentioned that he and Jungkook had been training seriously for the past 2.5 months. That is, for more than 8 weeks, the two have shared time together away from the public eye, without cameras or spectators, without the need to record every moment or prove anything to anyone. These kinds of revelations reflect the way Taehyung and Jungkook have chosen to live their bond. They are not interested in turning it into a spectacle, or in convincing others of anything. For them, the most important thing seems to be the sincerity with which they relate to each other. Their private life away from the cameras is full of moments they choose to keep to themselves, and that speaks volumes about the maturity and depth of their bond. What's interesting is that while others may be swayed by what's seen on screen, there are those who understand that relationships are built on the everyday, on what isn't publicized. Taehyung and Jungkook have been consistent with this for a long time. It's not that they don't share things with their followers, but they do so when they deem it appropriate, and they do so honestly, without exaggeration or drama. The closeness between them is evident to those who pay attention to the details, how they support each other, how they respect each other, and how they enjoy spending time together without needing to make it public all the time. Their relationship as a couple has remained discreet, while remaining strong and meaningful. And that is something that deserves to be recognized. When Taehyung revealed that they've been training together for so long, he didn't say it to impress, but rather as just another piece of information in a casual conversation. But that small phrase is very revealing. It gives us a clear idea of how long they've been sharing, strengthening their bond, and growing together as people. It's likely that at some point, they'll decide to share snippets of those training sessions with their followers. Perhaps they'll post short videos where we can see how they work as a team, how they support each other, and how they have fun. But even if that doesn't happen, the important thing has already been said: they're together, building a story in their own way, with their own rules, far from the expectations of others. Many wonder why we haven't seen many recent images of the two together. The answer may be simpler than it seems: they don't need to be seen all the time for their bond to be real. In fact, that low profile has been, in part, what has allowed their relationship to grow naturally. The absence of cameras doesn't mean an absence of connection. On the contrary, it may mean that they value their shared time enough not to constantly expose it. It's important to understand that not all relationships need to be validated through public exposure. Some people prefer to live more privately, especially when it comes to deep feelings. And that doesn't make them any less true. In the case of Taehyung and Jungkook, everything indicates that they have chosen to prioritize intimacy and mutual respect, something that is very valuable in any type of relationship, even more so in a romantic relationship. When observing how Taehyung and Jungkook's interactions have changed over time, it's clear that their bond has gone from being occasional and rare to something constant and natural. Before, moments where they showed closeness were rare and almost invisible to the public. However, now these moments have become part of their daily lives, as if it were inevitable. Jungkook and Taehyung don't feel the need to hide their relationship. Instead, they display it without fear or reservation. The confidence with which they carry themselves in front of the cameras and others around them indicates that they are comfortable and confident with each other. This change reveals that their connection has not only grown but has also strengthened and become visible to everyone. For those who follow their lives, these moments mean much more than simple casual actions. They are clear signs of a bond that deepens every day. The way they interact conveys that they have reached a level of trust that allows their feelings to be expressed without words or hesitation. The naturalness of their relationship is remarkable because it doesn't rely on words or explanations. Their bodies react in sync, as if connected on a single frequency. This shows that Taekook has a mutual understanding that goes beyond what can be expressed verbally. The way Taehyung and Jungkook follow each other, touch each other, and respond to small gestures is evidence of a relationship based on empathy and deep understanding. This bodily synchronicity indicates that they are in a personal and special space, where no matter the environment or who is watching, they only focus on each other. Analyzing these details, it can be said that their bond is not only strong but also authentic and secure, something that only comes with time and a true connection. Furthermore, the way they interact in public reveals that their relationship is a refuge where they find peace and understanding. Despite being surrounded by many people, attention fades when they are together, because their connection creates a separate space. Taekook and Jungkook seem to move in a world of their own where words are unnecessary and actions carry much greater weight. This not only strengthens their bond but also allows those who observe them to understand the depth of their relationship through small details that are repeated over and over again. Their gestures are natural and spontaneous, indicating that their relationship is not a montage, but a palpable and solid reality. On the other hand, the visibility of this relationship impacts the perception of many people who follow their story. Seeing Taehyung and Jungkook without masks or false appearances is an example of how a couple can maintain their essence in a world full of expectations and judgments. This transparency allows them to be a role model for those who value relationships based on trust, respect, and authenticity. Studying this dynamic, it is clear that they are not only building a strong bond between them, but also breaking down barriers by showing that such a relationship can exist and thrive without hiding.